decades, Kestrel Trust and the Valley Land Fund had over 6 decades of combined experience doing land conservation. Ultimately, when we merged, we were simply old friends. You know, we used to joke that we lent the same $5,000 back and forth to each other to do an appraisal. And we did. It was pretty much just that. We've been collaborating for a long time. So a merger seemed very sensible, combined all of our knowledge and all of our interests. And together, we've protected, collectively, over 20,000 acres over all those years in the valley. Both organizations felt a somewhat urgent need to do more, to do it faster, to do it better. And we're trying to expand our professional capacity, promote efficiency, and just retain the expertise that we found on both boards. And so we still collaborate with all the folks who have known Terry, who have known each other for a long, long time. And that's what the Kestrel Land Trust is now about. We are protecting the Connecticut River and its tributaries. We're protecting the forests and farms and the scenic lands, the wildlife, connecting the Mount Tom and Mount Holyoke Ranges and Mount Toby. We're trying to make sure that the Quabbin and the Hilltown areas get our attention too. We're encompassing the same values that the Valley Land Fund did and that Terry always cared about. Kestrel and Valley Land Fund both received memorial tributes after Terry passed, and we were happy to be able to receive those and then to bring them back here for this memorial. And we will continue to find other ways to honor him, doing things on the river, doing things on the mountains that he loved, that he wanted preserved for their historic landscape values. And we know he loved the river. We'll be working on those water rings for some time. As you mentioned, I've said in other contexts, yeah, Terry was my Aldo Leopold. That's exactly how I thought of him. When he was from Wisconsin, just like Aldo Leopold, and he had that same land ethic. Watching Terry work on a project, one saw that same kind of passion that came through in Leopold's writing. He was a wonderful photographer. He captured images that speak to his vision of the valley, a place he wanted safe for others to discover, protect archaeological sites, wildlife, and have unspoiled vistas that make the heart soar. And that's how I will always remember Terry. He was strong, opinionated, occasionally a little grumpy, and he worked for all of us, taught us a lot. I'm so grateful that I stumbled into his path these 30-some years ago, or whenever it was, because I did learn from him. I learned from so many people as we've collaborated, and that's what we will continue to do, and we'll do it not only in Terry's memory, but in a sense of going forward, because there's a lot that still remains to be achieved and still needs to be protected. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judy. I should point out that really it was Kestrel Trust that made this whole idea possible, and we're very grateful to them for providing funds and in general help to us. So thank you very much, Judy. I'm also pleased that it's so nice that there's the connection with the Aldo Leopold, which is something that really I hadn't thought very much about until I sat down one evening and I was just thinking, well, what am I going to say? What could I say about Terry, who, as I say, most of you knew better than I did? And suddenly I was reading some of the obituaries for Terry, and I began to say, oh, well, this is obvious. This is where the connection was, Aldo Leopold. And here I was, this callow English guy who was stuck out in Wisconsin and reading Aldo Leopold. Anyway, enough of my own life here. Another another one of the trusts that Terry worked with and was a very important individual connection for him was certainly Rich Hubbard of the Franklin Land Trust. And it's with great pleasure that I ask Rich to come up and say a few words on for the Franklin Land Trust.
First of all, I want to thank the Open Space Committee for organizing this event, and it's just amazing to be here with so many friends, and that really more family than friends. I mean, the thing about doing this work in this area is there's some great people doing it, and we really are a family. And so it's nice to be here, but at the same time, I think we would all agree we'd prefer not to have been here today, but it is what it is. So, and this is a very fitting tribute. I first met Terry back in 1986 or so when I was hired as the Western Mass field rep for the APR program. And he very quickly embraced me as this newbie on the block. Don't forget, this guy had a lot of years of experience before he came here. He was working for the Nature Conservancy, flying around the country doing land projects before he landed at the Connecticut River Watershed Association. So this was a big deal for me to have Terry step up and embrace me, and he quickly introduced me to the rest of the family out here, land conservation family. I think the first time was at one of either the second or third meeting of the Valley Land Fund that he invited me to come to that meeting. And if my memory serves me right, I was elected on the board that day too. Never pass up an opportunity to take advantage of a volunteer. But we quickly developed a very close relationship and friendship. And I think it stemmed from our passion for the work we were doing. I think there was a band of brothers kind of element to it, working for the state. Anybody who works for the state or had worked for the state can understand that band of brothers analogy, because you're having to deal with a lot of BS when you work for the state, and it really kind of makes you bond, I think, more closely. And I just loved being with him. He was just a lot of fun to be with. I always remember what I like to call Terryisms, that kind of sharp midwestern humor, these quips he used to throw out. A couple of examples, my favorite examples of he's trying to describe a situation where two people are looking at the same thing, but really you just can't agree on it. They're just coming from totally different angles. His quip would be, it would be like two blind people taking a hold of either end of an elephant and being asked to describe what the elephant looked like. So that was a Terryism. Or dealing with somebody who was really difficult, very, very, maybe not all there, and we've all had those experiences in this work, and his quip would be that guy's one sandwich short of a picnic. Little things like that just crack me up. So some of my most fond memories of this work are going to be the time I spent with Terry, either in his office, poring over the map of the Connecticut River Valley, or up on the top of Mount Sugarloaf looking down in the valley as we schemed our next conquest. And those will be memories that I'll always cherish. And when I saw that the event today was going to be here, I had to smile. I remember probably 20 some odd years ago standing out here on this spot, right over there with Terry, looking at this property at the time that was owned by a very difficult landowner, who of course thought it was worth millions and millions of dollars, and kind of pondering, okay, what are we going to do with this? How are we going to conserve this? And we did a lot of projects together because I was managing the Agricultural Preservation Restriction Program for the state at the time. He was doing Connecticut River stuff, and so we did a lot of joint projects together. And in fact, my staff used to accuse me of spending more time with Terry than with them, and it was probably true. But there's some good memories right here, and so this is very fitting that we have remembrance tomb here. But I say this, and people maybe don't believe me, but there's barely a day that goes by that I don't think of Terry. When I go to work every day from New Salem, my home in New Salem, to my office in Shelburne Falls, I cross over the French King Bridge, past properties that Terry and I worked on. You drive down the river roads on either side of the river. You look at Mount Toby, Mount Warner, Holyoke Range. You can't look at those places and not think of Terry. And so, while this is a very fitting memorial to Terry, I look at this valley as the memorial Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Rich. Some very moving words. We thought that it would be appropriate for us to drink a toast to Terry, but to drink it with the water that comes from our reservoir down the road here. And so I'm going to ask members of the committee to hand around a glass for everyone, to take a glass, and then to ask Pete Westover to come up and to give a toast, so that we'll all be able to raise our glass of water. I think this is the first time in my memory that I've ever toasted anything in water, but it's certainly something which is, it seems to me, very appropriate to do here now.
Hi, Ron. How are
Sorry.
Jonas? Yeah, could you get... Oh, well, sorry. Jonas? Hey, thank you. You got one? You all set? Okay. Good, thank you.
Has everyone got their glass? Anyone not got a glass of water? All right. So, go ahead.
Well, I think it was a great idea, and I think it was Peter Cox's and Mark Shalot's idea to use the Hatfield water, to get the champagne, to get the bubbly wine, and that was, it's not cheap, and it was a reminder to everybody how important these local water supplies are. So this is just one very small part of what Terry's life was about, but it was a very important part, and so I think we all, in very, very great gratitude, ought to tip a glass to Terry.
Cheers.
And to the Open Space Committee. Thanks for doing it. What a great group of people. Save the world with all these folks. That's pretty much what they're doing.
Thanks very much, Pete. Right now, I need some help from my friends on the committee, because we're going to have a tape which is starting over here, and we're going to encompass, we hope, everyone in the ribbon.
We're doing a ribbon of connecting. So it's symbolic. We hope 75 feet.
Okay,
We'll do it. Mark brought an extra.
We've got one going this way.
Blowing away. Just grab one end.
Just grab it, everybody.
You all right? You make it?
I can't see Vicky, but Vicky, would you come up? Vicky there? And there are a number of others who would like to come up same time. The members of the Open Space Committee, Water Department, DPW if you're here. We have Dan from the Board of Selectmen, Bob Wagner, please. CBC Chair, Paul Sassy, Pete Westover, Bob Bartlett, and Ann Capron, if they're here. So So if you could all come up. Okay, is everyone good? Anyone else? Okay, who's going to do the actual cutting? Have we got? Is everyone included in it? Everyone got a piece of the ribbon?
Mason, it should
Yes?
go to you. Let's see if we can get this Mason.
Okay.
There you go, Mason. You got it.
All right. So now I'm going to ask Jan to read the official declaration.
I hereby dedicate and establish on this behalf of Hatfield and its inhabitants the Terry A. Blood watershed and conservation area.
Yes.
Okay. You're going to hang on to something.
That's it. Very good. All right. And now, step forward, Ron. I don't know whether you want to read the plaque or not.
I could read it.
That would be great. Yeah. You want the microphone?
Okay.
It's up. No, it's up to you.
Okay, here it is. Hello. So the plaque reads, Terry A. Blunt Watershed and Conservation Area. This area is named in honor of Terry A. Blunt as a tribute to his tireless advocacy for land conservation and natural resource protection throughout New England, especially in the Connecticut River Valley, including this special area in Hatfield that he loved. May Terry's legacy forever live on as we use and enjoy this land in the same spirit that he sought to preserve it for us. Dedicated spring 2013. Thank you. Wow, that's
I find encouraging this kind of event that really shows us what we can do. So I don't know why, I think it must be catching things. But this is a wonderful occasion for me, and I hope you. And when we finish here, anyone wants to walk down to the reservoir, some of us are going to do that. We'll stay here and look at the plaque, or stay here and just look at the farm, look at the scenery. That would absolutely be wonderful. And I can't tell you how pleased I am that you all came. It is a little chilly today. I find myself shivering here. It's tough. Maybe the older you get, the worse you begin to feel the cold temperature. But thank you all for coming, and thank you so much, all those people who gave us extraordinary help. For example, Garrett Stover gave us, this could not have happened really initially without him, because he had all of the email addresses and the addresses, the snail mail addresses, and so on that we desperately needed. We didn't have any other source. We had an idea, but we had no way of getting to it. So Garrett really gave us that. But many of you have put up with us pestering you about information and about what we should do and so on. And so I can't tell you, it's really, I think, from the bottom of our hearts for the Open Space Committee here, it's been an event which has, I think, tested us sometimes and tested our temper sometimes. My wife is nodding her head yes at that, so that it certainly has done that. But it seems to me that it's worth it. And this is the kind of event, you know, that I wish I could see more of. But here we are, together, we can do things that when we're apart, we cannot do. And so I am absolutely delighted in that. So thank you all for coming, and I hope you come back to this place too. Steve.
And Mark, you had the land poster for.
Thank you.
You don't.
All right, but another time. All right, don't forget that.
Let
Yes.
people know they can put
Yes,
plants in
I
the
can.
ground.
We have some plants that we have, just a few, and if you wish to stay and put some of those in the ground, we're going to have other plantings in the future here. We're going to maintain the site. Please stay and give a hand here to Ani, who is going to do that. Thank you
All right,
so much
thank you.
all again for coming.
Right.
One of my cookies.